So guys, hello and welcome to the Football Talk Exchange. I am your host Shubham Thakkar and today I have with me two of my best football friends, Aryan Nagraj and Abhay Pai. Today we'll be discussing how some of the biggest transfers last summer have performed this season. So the first name on the list, uh, just a second. Yeah,
Rodri.
so the first name on the list, Rodri from Man City. So I'll start with Aryan.
I mean, to be honest, I can understand why City did that move because Fernandinho, as you can see, is getting very, very old, and City have taken this move like at the perfect moment. Like Rodri last season for Atleti, he just blossomed into the player that they ever wished to fill Fernandinho's role in the future. So with
Yeah.
Fernandinho and David Silva both becoming very old, City need to refresh their midfield, rejuvenate their midfield. And I can see how Rodri, like a signing like Rodri, makes sense. Very technical midfielder, good at winning balls back, not so good at shooting, but can take the occasional long shot, as proven by his goal against Burnley, the amazing strike from outside the box. So I can understand how he fits into a Guardiola system, and I would rate it at the moment 7.5 out of 10. But I can see him being easily a 9.5 out of 10 signing for City.
Ooh, that's quite high. Abhay, what do you think?
Yeah, so City, they lacked a good CDM. So when Laporte got injured, so Fernandinho was demoted to the centre back role. So Rodri was a good option for them. Like so he fit very well into the system of Atletico Madrid, and he seemed a very sensible option for them. And currently it's he does not fit his bill of 65 odd million, but I'm sure that he will
Yeah,
strive harder to
uh,
fit his role. So I would
I was
rate
just going to,
7.5.
I was going to ask you, do you think that he fits the price tag that he's been paid for? So yeah,
In
even
this
I rated.
in this
Sorry,
inflated
Aryan.
in this inflated market, like João Felix, we are going to come to him later, but João Felix sold for 126 million, even though his price tag, like his market value was like around 80, 90 million. Even for a
Yeah,
youngster who has proven himself only in the Europa League, it's a very big transfer fee. So a person who is in his prime and fits Guardiola's system very well, I can see why 65 million is going to be worth in the long run.
right.
That's just my
Next player.
opinion, though.
वो तो अरे that's the thing. It's all about opinion.
Yeah.
The aim is to get as many fans as I can get connected in the community, in the comments
True,
as
true,
well.
true.
So next player, Cancelo, Joao Cancelo.
Ooh,
Abhay,
interesting. Very interesting.
I know Aryan has to say a lot about him, so I'll let Abhay start first.
Yeah.
So first, Juventus's move to sell him was a very dumb one because the only right back was Spinazzola, but then they got Danilo, who's on the bench half the time. So I don't know
Serviceable.
why they sold him. But for City, they already had Walker, so I don't know why Cancelo came. But he can play as a left back also. So when
Yeah,
Benjamin Mendy is injured, which is always, so
yeah.
Cancelo can play as a left back, and they also they loaned Angelino to Leipzig. So I think
Good
Cancelo
point.
would fit the left back role very well. So this would be like an 8 out of 10 for City, but 4 out of 10 for US. So yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yes.
Aryan, your
Okay.
turn, man.
The problem with Juventus is they never found a good, like, solid right back who was like good right now and also good for the future. Like they had Lichtsteiner, who's like 35. They have Danny Alves, who was also like mid 30s and is now Sao Paulo. So they didn't have a young right back who was going to like carry them into the future, like offensively and defensively talented. Joao
Yeah,
Cancelo was that, and they got him from like Inter Valencia. He was bouncing around everywhere, and they got him to be stable. I still remember that pass he played to Cuadrado
Yeah.
out with the output of his foot. Such an amazing, technically gifted player, and they gave him away for like Danilo and 20 million. I don't know why they did that. On the Man City side of things, they actually managed to get a steal but I don't know how he fits into their plans. Like Kyle Walker is still one of the best right backs in the PL, if not the best.
Yeah.
Angelino, as you were talking about the left back situation, they had Angelino who they loaned out to PSV last season. And Eredivisie is not an easy league. And Angelino was he was literally the best left last season in the Eredivisie. So I don't understand why Pep, who had so much influence with the La Masia at Barcelona, couldn't give a chance to a youngster at Man City. In only one of his 11 positions, he has established talent in all of the other positions, and he has so much depth. He could have gone for Angelino, is my opinion. And
personally,
I would rate the signing maybe a 5.5 or 6 out of 10, just because they didn't really need him.
All right. So I personally would agree more with Abhay than with you, Aryan. I'm sorry, because Mendy has been injured. Mendy he's been injured for it's like forever. He's always injured. He's always on Instagram. So I think Cancelo was a steal for Danilo and 20 odd million. And yeah, I can see why Guardiola bought him to play him at left back and Walker right back. But I don't think Cancelo has played much this season, right?
True.
So even I would rate it around 6 or 6.5 out of 10.
Fair, very fair. Okay.
Next player, Tielemans.
Yuri Tielemans.
Yes.
I mean, Leicester have had a history of producing good midfielders who are serviceable to any team in the Premier League per se. So you have obviously N'Golo Kante, who's now a Premier League champion and one of the best ball-winning midfielders in the Premier League. You have Danny Drinkwater. We would not talk much about him, but okay. And then you have Dennis Praet, who they signed from Sampdoria. Yeah. He's also another up-and-coming Belgian talent. So maybe that was an influence in getting Tielemans in. And Tielemans, I can understand why they got him in. Monaco, they consistently near top of Ligue 1 with young talent, young up and 2017, 16-17 team, if I'm not mistaken. Half the City team is from there, obviously. And the offshoots of that team is still around in the top 5 leagues. We can say it everywhere. And Tielemans is exceptionally talented. We can't deny that. But the fact of the matter is he has taken time to settle into the Premier League. And we should allow him that. And yeah, I would rate it about an 8 out of 10. Good move by Leicester.
Yeah. So so as Rodgers came back from his stint at Celtic, so Leicester has seen a very huge surge in their stock. They use their older guns like Schmeichel and Vardy, but they also took a chance on the academic products like NDD and Chowdhury, and they are world-class CDMs. So so this deal seems pretty good. So so Tielemans will act as a buffer to push the attack, while NDD or Chowdhury will defend any counterattacks. And he's pretty tactically gifted, so he can play through balls to Vardy or Harvey Barnes, who are very quick. I think this has been a very good deal for them. He obviously has a very high room for growth. So currently his deal would be 7.5 for me, but he can obviously do better than what he's doing now.
There is one question here though, with the surge of James Maddison as well in the Leicester lineup, how do you think Maddison and Tielemans fit together? Because if there are 2 attacking midfielders, you'll probably need 1 or 2 defensive midfielders. So is Chowdhury the decision? Chowdhury and NDD, are they starting? What should Rodgers do? Shubham, I'll ask you.
Personally, I think NDD is a very Kante-esque midfielder. So I think he can be that lone central defensive midfielder. And Maddison is obviously, he's more attacking. Tielemans, I think he could be the sort of mixture between the two, the box-to-box sort of midfielder. Yeah, and I remember, I think in Mourinho's first season, we were in the Europa League, and I think we played. What was it? Where was Tielemans before Monaco?
RSC, RSC
Anderlecht.
Anderlecht.
Yeah,
Correct.
Anderlecht. Yeah, so we were playing Anderlecht, and Tielemans was one of their best players. And from that time, I knew that he was going to be destined for the bigger teams in the years to come. So I think 40 odd million they paid for him.
Yeah, 35. I
Yeah,
guess.
huh.
Yeah.
40 million or thereabouts. So I think 7.5 out of 10 is a good score for Tielemans.
Reasonable, very reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay, next
Now,
up is Christian Pulisic.
Hmm.
Abest, you
Yeah.
go first.
So when Chelsea bought him, so like he was touted as the successor to Hazard, and currently, like, so when he started his career, like, was on a very upward hill. So when Dortmund sold him, that was a very dumb move for them because they could obviously own his growth. But Chelsea have made a very good deal with Pulisic for like 50 million, I guess. Yeah, so when they bought him, so they can use him
Yeah.
as a left or right winger, and he's very pacey, so he can move well with Mount and Tammy Abraham up front. And Pulisic, his 2 or 3 month stint in between was godly. So like he scored 4 or 5 goals and had 2, 3 assists in the same month, and
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
can be seen as
Hat-trick against
one of his
Burnley.
permanent. Yeah. That was a very good match for him, and that can be seen as
There's
his.
a theme in this episode.
Sorry.
The Burnley getting shafted theme in this episode.
Yeah.
Rodri scored a banger.
Yeah.
Pulisic scored a hat trick. I mean, Dortmund just
Yeah.
let go of their talents like at the right time is what I feel. Like they let go of Dembele at the perfect time. They could have got the most money out of him.
Yeah.
The Lewandowski saga is not one we'll talk about. That was a little bit bad on their part. Aubameyang was very good from them. He wanted to leave. The president was not on his side. And Pulisic, I can really see it's like a Chelsea type of signing. Willian is getting old. Eden Hazard was just sold. Pedro is getting old. I can see
Pedro is also getting old.
Pulisic and Mount. I can see them carrying like Chelsea's attack for Pulisic, Mount, and Abraham. Maybe I can see them carrying Chelsea's attack for like 5-6 years in the future, depending on how all three of them perform together. So I'll rate this one an 8 out of 10.
Yeah. This one.
I personally think like Abhay mentioned. Sorry, Abhay.
Let continue.
Okay. So like Abhay mentioned that he's the sort of replacement for Hazard. I'd agree because in the bigger games, Pulisic has also gone missing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think 7 out of 10 would be a fair score for Pulisic.
So in
Even
my
with the
opinion,
potential of it.
yeah, 7.5 would be a good score, but now Chelsea,
Yes.
they also got Ziyech, so even she would work in tandem with the tactical genius of Mount, Pulisic, and Abraham. Also to mention Loftus-Cheek and Hudson-Odoi, so even they are pretty good players.
Yeah.
Frank Lampard has really resurrected the Chelsea academy. Okay,
You can finally
another
see why
Chelsea
they
player.
loaned out so many players.
I mean, right now, like I can understand the number of players is reduced, I think, and like most of them are getting chances. Reece James, Tomori, I don't know, many defenders as well. I don't really know. Christensen, yes, but Christensen has been around for a long time. This season, I could see upsurge in a lot of them. The next one is Mateo Kovacic. Okay, personally for me, not a good signing at all. I mean,
why so?
they just signed Ross Barkley. They had Danny Drinkwater. I mean, they let him go for nothing, and I can see why they let him go for nothing. But I mean, with the amount of trust that Frank Lampard was putting in his like youth graduates, how are you going to guarantee game time a lot like apt game time to people that will be deserving it in the next 2 years, like Ross Barkley, Mateo Kovacic, Billy Gilmore, Mason Mount, Ruben
Loftus-Cheek.
Loftus-Cheek.
Yeah.
You have so many midfielders. I don't
Midfielders.
understand. I mean, Real Madrid was keen to get him off, but I don't understand why he would go to a club like Chelsea and why would a club like Chelsea sign him. I mean, wasn't good in the first half of the season, obviously, but in the second half, he has shown glimpses of what he had at Real Madrid. But personally, I wouldn't rate this signing a lot. I give it like a 3 out of 10 from the Chelsea's
Three?
point of view. From Chelsea's point of view. Yes.
Okay. Abhay?
Yeah, so in my
Not based on
opinion-
his talent, obviously. His talent is like there to be seen. From Chelsea's point of view, it's a 3 out of 10.
Okay.
So Kovacic is like a player who's box to box, and he has a very good shooting range. So he's basically like Valverde but older. And and Chelsea obviously have a lot of midfielders: Kante, Jorginho, Loftus-Cheek, Barkley, Drinkwater, and now they also went and bought Ziyech, and they also have Gilmour. So I think Kovacic did not seem as a very good signing at first, but in the past season, we could see some glimpses of his brilliance as we could see in the Madrid of 2016-17, where he was brilliant. So I think it's not a very bad signing. So this might be for the future if he turns out to live up to his potential. But currently, I don't see him fitting in the squad due to better players being there and even younger players being there. So I think I would rank this 6, not 3, but like 6.
Yeah. So, I would agree with Abhay. Like 6 out of 10 is like a correct score for Kovacic. He's been good in glimpse, like in patches, but yeah, not really great. So 6 should be good.
I think you guys are being very generous. Moving on, we have
Okay.
Harry Maguire.
Arey wah, slap
Harry
head.
Maguire, slab it.
I mean, one of us clearly has a little bit of bias here, so
Yeah.
let's have him. Let's listen to him first.
So I think 80 million, otherwise is a lot, but the way you value a player, the method you used to value a player is how much he is worth to you, not to other clubs. And United desperately needed a centre back because you had Phil Jones, who's always is either disastrous or injured.
Or making faces.
Yeah. So that's why it's disastrous, right? You had Eric Bailly, who's very injury prone. Marcus Rojo, very injury prone. Smalling and Lindelof, the only 2 good centre backs.
Yeah,
And
Smalling
you need,
Roma.
when you need
Yeah.
small Dini. so when you need to rotate, you have to play probably Phil Jones. You can't play Phil Jones with Smalling. Yeah, so I think Harry Maguire, I'd give him. He's a very good leader also. He's been the captain. He's now become the captain of United. So I personally 7.5 or 8 out of 10 would do justice.
Forgot to attend the coin toss at the Europa League game, but we'll move on. Yeah, I mean, 80 million is a lot. I would seem that Harry Maguire or Johnny Evans, like the 2 main Leicester targets that Man United had, should not have costed even a combined 80 million. What is my opinion? Should not have costed a combined 80 million to Manchester United. Given the fact that Toby Alderweireld had a 25 million release clause even before Jose Mourinho got to Tottenham Hotspur, which Manchester
But he's
United
too old.
could have. Huh?
Alderweireld is too old, right? He's like 29, 30 already, isn't he?
But you do need a centre back to shore up the defense right now, don't you? You have a young centre back in Victor Lindelof. You do need a centre back who can shore up the defense right now. Man United is all about the current success. You can't just give a dream to your fans like 5 saal mein we'll be good in 10 years, we'll be good in 5 years. Mason Greenwood, oh wow. Anthony Martial, oh wow. Yes, oh wow, I can agree. But you need some people at this moment. And Toby Alderweireld was on the cheap. Christian Eriksen was on the cheap. But let's not talk about attacking midfielders. Let's just focus on the centre backs. You could have gotten a decent centre back for a very little valuation, is what I'm trying to say here. 80 million was clearly an overpay in my opinion, and I would rate it, even with the growing up that Harry Maguire has done, a 6 out of 10. Just my
Okay,
opinion.
Abhay?
Yeah, so like, so as you both said, United were in a very dire need of a centre back, a good centre back. So
Hmm.
there were a lot of fish in the sea, but yeah. So they bought Maguire, which seemed like a pretty sensible deal, but the price tag was a bit high because City was also in the chase of Maguire. So I think
Yeah,
this was a pretty good transfer from uh, United's point of view, and also one more purpose it served was it also fended off the deal from City. So so that was like two birds from one stone.
yeah.
Good point.
So I would rate
So
this 7 currently, but yeah, it can also prove to be beneficial in the long run. So he's not that old, so they can hopefully go on and qualify for the CL.
Yeah.
so what I'm gathering right now is I'm being very harsh
Yeah, you
with
are.
my rating.
So I
I
think,
mean,
if I'm not wrong,
couch critics do that. Couch critics, that is their job to be harsh. So I'm just
yeah.
doing my job.
So
What
I
were you
think
saying,
after
Shubham?
so after the World Cup, I think Maguire was linked to United for around 50-ish million, if I'm not wrong, 45, 50 million,
More
and
justified.
huh. So Ed Woodward, being Ed Woodward,
Hmm.
he must have tried to bargain, and then obviously Leicester did not want to sell for that lower price. So this it's like you're paying the additional 30 million for the fault you made last year. So yeah,
True, agreed.
and again there's the English player premium that you have to pay in the Premier League
Yeah.
because English players get hyped very quickly.
Hmm.
Get Declan Rice for an example.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
Bisaka.
Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah.
Hmm.
In my eyes, very good signing by United, and at the
Hmm.
perfect time. Valencia
Hmm.
just got sold.
Yeah.
Diogo Dalot was just being implemented into the team very slowly.
Hmm.
So Wan-Bissaka had just proven himself at Crystal Palace to be one of the best defensive right backs in the Premier League. I would go as far as to say the best defending right back in the Premier
Yeah.
League
Yeah.
right now.
Definitely.
His
Hmm.
tackling rate is impressive. Like, even if you just don't go by the numbers, if you just watch a few games, you'll understand
Hmm.
he's such a good tackler. He's so efficient. It's like
Hmm.
the Maldini saying, like, if I have to make a tackle, I've already made a mistake. Wan-Bissaka doesn't give two shits about that. He just goes
Yeah.
into the tackle left, right, and center, and he wins the ball most of the time. So I can understand why United made this signing, and it would also be sensible for him to move on to the next stage in his career to a club like
Hmm.
United. It's a very good signing in my opinion. Good fee, 35, if I'm not mistaken, 35.
50, 45,
Okay,
50. Yeah.
okay. So even with that, it's a very justified price tag. I would give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Abhay.
Yeah. So Wan-Bissaka is a very good player, as seen last year with his stint at Palace. So like he's a very good defensive right back. His tackling sense and timing have been nearly perfect. So like he seemed like the perfect choice to replace Valencia because Young was very un, un wait, okay, yeah. So
Unlimited minutes.
yeah, Young was a pretty deteriorating right back. So Wan-Bissaka seemed like a perfect choice for them, and his price tag is not also too high for a player like him. So I think the deal really fit both the teams because Paris wasn't really honing his skills to his ceiling. So hopefully
Hmm.
now United will play him in a squad that is really improving his skills. So I would rate
Hmm.
this deal like 8.5 or 9 out of 10 in my opinion. Yeah.
Hmm. Arin, you did not mention your score out of 10.
9.5. It's a really good signing by United. This is the only signing by United I liked. So it's a 9.5 for me.
Hmm. So considering Man City paid 55 million for John Stones a couple of years ago, I personally think that this is an absolute steal for United. He's going to be there for around 10, 12 years. So 50 million is a very good buy. He's not that good at attacking and getting forward, but I think he'll improve over the next couple of years. Personally, for me, it's 9.5 on 10.
I agree. So let's move on. Tanshi and Dombele. What do we think of Tanshi and Dombele? Abhay?
So I personally don't have that much opinion about him. So during his time at Lyon, he seemed pretty well. But here in Hotspurs, when Poch was sacked, or rather he left. So I think when Mourinho came, he's a very defensive-minded coach, and Ndombele being a tank and a very well CDM, he seemed very well, and he has been playing bang average, but he's like currently injured, I guess. So I think this season would not be a very good scale to measure his potential and the magnitude of the deal. But I would rate that like 6.5 or 7 currently. But hopefully he improves his stamina and his fitness. Yeah.
Okay, I can understand why Tottenham Hotspur needed to buy a defensive midfielder. I mean, Eric Dier is not the best defensive midfielder to have starting on your team, is it? If you are trying to compete for titles, but I can understand this signing from Tottenham. Last season, Lyon itself had upsurge in good midfielders last season, to be honest. Tolisso, Hussein Mawar, Tanguy Ndombele, all of these came up in that single season. And Tolisso left for Bayern Munich, and he's been good for Bayern Munich, as we have all seen. And now Ndombele was supposed to take the next step, which was Tottenham Hotspur. I can back the fact that he is going to be Jose's Nemanja Matic if they work out. If Tanguy Ndombele lives up to his potential. Jose needs that type of player all the time. But at this, judging by this season, it was a car crash, to be honest. And I wouldn't on this season alone, I would give him a 5 out of 10. But if he fulfills its potential at Tottenham, he'll get 8.5.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. He's not been very good this season. I only watched, I'll not say that I watched many games of Tottenham, but
Nobody
I remember watching. I remember watching the first game was against Burnley, Aston Villa. One of the, I guess it was Villa on the opening day. So I remember Ndombele scored an absolute fantastic goal. At that moment, I thought that he was going to be a good signing. But then, considering Jose criticized him so much, personally, I wouldn't go above a 6 for Ndombele.
Even with his full potential?
Full potential, maybe if he gets a better coach, maybe 8.
Okay, understandable. Okay, Giovanni Lo Celso.
Oh, Oryx Spurs ka yaar.
It's like we have 2 Chelsea, then 2 United, now 2 Spurs.
Because obviously the big money signings.
Abhay, what do you think? Okay, I'll start.
Because you're the more knowledgeable one here.
Okay, whatever. Giovanni Lo Celso, PSG didn't work out for him. PSG actually have a history of ruining midfielders' careers. I can't say Pablo Sarabia is a nonsense signing. I don't get why they signed Pablo Sarabia and Idrissa Gueye.
And Ander Herrera.
While they have Marco Verratti and Leandro Paredes. I don't get PSG. But on the other hand, I can understand why Giovanni Lo Celso was loaned in and then have an option to sign for Spurs. Betis was really good last season with Gianni Lo Celso, Teo, and Joaquin.
Yeah.
Yes, Betis was really good last season. I think they finished in a Europa League position, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
yes. So, like, that was the perfect time for Lo Celso to move on to a club like Tottenham Hotspur. And in the Premier League, Lo Celso doesn't have like the best cards record. He has already got, I think, like 2 or 3 red cards. He's
Yeah.
a bit reckless with his play. I mean, he shouldn't be diving into tackles. He is an attacking midfielder. He should be playing the role that Christian Eriksen was playing at Tottenham. He was
Hmm.
supposed to do that. And like with the arrival of Bergwijn, Tottenham have a good amount of attacking firepower. It's not
But
impossible to see them like score over 70, 80 goals in a Premier League season. But Gianni Lo Celso is not being utilized properly by Tottenham is what I have to say. He's not being played in his perfect position. He's not being told to do what he's supposed to do, what he's good at doing, which is why I am going to rate this signing a 6 out of 10.
Abhay,
Yeah, so personally, I have no clue about his career at Spurs, but last year when I saw him playing versus Madrid with
Ah,
Betis, he seemed very brilliant with his ball control and his vision. So paired with Joaquin, I think he had the right amount of uh, exposure to a very veteran player for Betis. And when Betis sold them, I don't know why they sold them, but like, okay, like that's fine. So at Spurs, they obviously could have made things better with Ericsson, but they sold him. So I think Lo Celso
hmm,
was a very panic deal for Spurs. But
hmm.
looking at his playtime at Betis, I'm sure that he can obviously fulfill his potential. But I think with Mourinho, he wouldn't be honed that much in his attacking sense, and for that matter, due to the coach and his playing style, I would rank this like 5 out of 10 for me, 5.5.
Same. The problem is when you've got a manager that's so defensive, attacking players at the club are not going to get more than a 5 or 6.
Yeah.
agreed.
Hmm. I've only watched a couple of Spurs games, and Giovanni Lo Celso looks like a good signing, but he needs to be used in a better way. Sorry.
Fully
No.
agreed. Okay, next on the list is Mr. 80 million Nicolas Pepe. Okay. I mean, I can understand why Arsenal signed Pepe. Like, they weren't even supposed to make a signing this season. And when Raul Sanllehi finally got to his senses and like understood what was happening at the club, AFTV and all that, I mean, that was a good decision. Good decision to get a player who absolutely lit up not only League One but also the Champions League last, like no, not the Champions League, sorry, Europa League last season. Like
Hmm.
they had a really good team. Like Lille last season, they still have a good team. They're still third in the League One, but that's because like they managed to get in Victor Osimhen on at striker instead of our man Pepe, and he's been equally as good. But I can understand why Pepe was signed by Arsenal with Henrik Mkhitaryan becoming very old. He was
Hmm.
supposed to be like the next right winger, like the successor right winger, because
Hmm.
Reece Nelson is very young, and all their like academy graduates are very young, and like they're getting less time, except like Bukayo Saka, who's been very good, but
Hmm.
he's playing
Even
at left back.
Martinelli.
The left flank has been like flooded with youngsters like Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Bukayo Saka, and Martinelli and all that. But the right flank needed like somebody who's already at their peak. I would say that Nicolas Pepe is at his peak right now. His two free kicks were really good. His two free kicks, if
Huh.
you know what I'm talking about, in
In
that
the
Europa League
Europa
game.
League. Huh.
Yes. But in the Olympiacos game, he was nowhere to be seen. So he disappears in the big moments. I wouldn't like call it a bad signing per se, but he still has to show why he's worth the price tag. I would give him like a 6.5 out of 10.
So for
All
me,
right?
Pepe seemed one more panic buy for Arsenal, and considering that they had a very tight budget of like 40 million initially, this deal of this weight of a price tag seemed pretty dumb. But currently, like with what I'm seeing on pitch with Pepe, like he's very fast and he's technically gifted, but his finishing needs a bit of polishing for me. And so I think he would fit in well with Bellerin. Like both are very pacey, and considering that Bellerin is fit for play, so I think this deal would be like a 5.5 for me, considering that Arsenal had a very tight budget. So yeah, that's it for me.
So he's just had one good season, and 72 million I think was too much to pay for a league right winger, and I think he's actually worth 50 odd million, 55 million, not more than that. To pay that much for him, I don't get why you paid so much for him. Even United were linked to him. Even United were linked to him in the summer.
As they're linked to everybody.
Yeah.
Photoshop experts.
So yeah, this season has not been great, but hopefully in the coming seasons he'll show why Arsenal paid that much amount for him. So as of now, I can't give him more than a 5 out of 10.
Understandable. Okay. Next we've got Pancake Boy Eden Hazard.
Oh,
I think
yeah, you are the most equipped to start here.
Yeah. So with what I've seen on pitch with his performances, like they aren't bad, but they surely didn't mirror his performances last season with Chelsea when they won the Europa League. So I think obviously during the summer window he had vacationed a lot and he had gained like 10 pounds, I guess. So I think that had to do with his performances. Like he had weight problems and he could not last the whole game. So I think from that he worked on towards his fitness. But I think the 110 million price tag on him does not live up to his current expectations. But I'm surely I believe in him to fulfill his potential at Madrid. Like he's at his peak, so hopefully he gets fit for this remainder of the season if it's there. But I'm sure that he will play his best at Madrid, and he has Benzema to spearhead and play make with him in the number 9 role. So I think this deal would be like a 7.5 for me currently, considering that he has more at least 4 years to play for Madrid. So I guess he can fulfill his 100 million price tag.
Yeah. So I believe in Hazard. I'm a Barca fan, but I do believe in Hazard. Like last season in the World Cup as well, the bronze ball winner. He is like one of the best players in the world. And I understand why Madrid had to get him, because Ronaldo was leaving and Hazard was touted to be his replacement. And I don't see many other players who are more capable to like fill in that role. Obviously, no one can fill in that role. No, I mean, Mbappe is like out of reach right now. So what I'm saying is many, like the player which was within reach and also like had the most chances fulfilling Cristiano Ronaldo's potential at Real Madrid was Eden Hazard. And I understand why Real Madrid made this signing. Obviously, things have not turned out the way they wanted it in the first season. But I still believe in Hazard. And I do agree that 110 million, even in this inflated market, is justifiable. He's like one of the top 10 players in the world. Let's just say, let's not quote any controversy. I would rate Madrid signing as right now a 7 out of 10. But it has potential to be like, Hazard has potential to be one of the best, if not the best, in Real Madrid's history.
Personally, I think Hazard wasn't a very great signing. you know, we've already heard of attitude problems at Hazard, like at Chelsea. Sorry, like he wouldn't be training as much as the other players. Forget training extra like Ronaldo, and to turn up like from what I had heard, he turned 7 kgs overweight after coming to Real Madrid. You know, you earn your dream move, but in preseason you're 7 kgs overweight. Personally, for me, that is not pardonable. So I would say right now 6 out of 10. He's already very old. He's like 29 or 30, if I'm not wrong.
8, huh?
Is that right? Aryan, is that right?
I think he's 27. Let me fact check.
27? Okay.
You continue. I'll fact check.
Yeah,
Huh.
he is.
So-
29. Yeah.
He's 29?
Yeah.
29. Damn.
Huh. So I think
My brain
maybe
is
after the World Cup, he would have been a better signing. Now he's just a bit too old. He's like, you can see he's declining. But 110 million a bit too much. I think 95 or 90 would have been better. So right now, 5.5,
Yeah, but
5 out of 10.
I would still say he has like 4 or 5 more good seasons to give. That's just my opinion. Okay, let's move on to the next player.
About
I think it's Mendy.
our very own Frankie De Jong.
Haha. I mean, it's only fair that I start.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So like after like Ajax's class of 2019, what a brilliant like run they had in the Champions League. Everybody except Van de Beek, I think, got picked up.
Hmm.
Even Neres.
David Neres to a certain
Yeah.
certain
Even
extent, yeah.
Neres was like scouted, but like not picked up yet. I mean,
yeah.
we all knew that De Jong and De Ligt were the most sought after out of both of them.
Yeah.
De Ligt obviously we'll come to him later.
Yeah.
We'll talk about him later. But
Yeah.
De Jong, like Barca, at the moment, having lost Iniesta just like not too long ago. Busquets is becoming old. Just got in Arthur. Should get in Frankie De Jong was my opinion, and which they clearly did. Because although Arthur is like a more attacking midfielder, Frankie De Jong is like the perfect midfielder to go forward and stay back. He's like the perfect role that somebody like a Busquets or a Xavi would have played. So I can understand. He's like a passing maestro, obviously. He has great vision. He can slip in like our attacking fullbacks like Semedo and Jordi Alba and Sergio Roberto.
Junior Firpo.
Like Junior. Let's not talk about Junior Firpo right now. I mean, it's a really good signing. It might just be a little biased, but I can see this working out in the long run because Barca relies so much on keeping possession, and like their midfield is like such an integral part of their game. No matter their manager, like whatever the manager says, what happens on the pitch is largely influenced due to the midfield. Not recently though, but like we can understand that is the Barca way. And Frankie De Jong is like the perfect midfielder to carry the Barca way forward, which is why I'm going to rate this signing a 9 out of 10 right now.
Wow, that's a very high rating, but yeah.
What do you have to say, Abhay?
Yeah, so personally for
Bit of
me,
personal bias, na?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, it's just my opinion.
Yeah, so when I saw him play,
Look at that beautiful man.
yeah. So when I saw him play versus us, when we lost 5-1, sadly, so he was pretty well. He put Modric and Vinicius skating basically. So like he was that
Without
very
Messi, might I add.
Cruyff type of player. Yeah. So like he was a very Cruyff player, and he could turn defense into attack in like 5 seconds. So like he can turn, pass, has a great vision, long ball. So I think he was a very good signing for Barca, but like currently he did not live up to his 75 million price tag. But obviously with like paired with a young center midfield with Arthur, they can emulate Xavi and Iniesta. Like not obviously not, but they
Try
can
to.
try to reach
To
their
some
height.
extent, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So for me, he would be like a 7.5 out of 10 currently because Valverde is obviously the better CM in La Liga now. So
Ah, yes,
yeah,
personal bias. Let's move on. Shubham, what do
yeah,
you have
but
to think about it?
So you could see why Barcelona bought him. Like he fits the mold, he fits their mold perfectly for the midfield. And one of the things I remember from my FCB Escola days was that they focused a lot on the transition and from defense into attack. And like Abhay mentioned, De Jong is very good at it. So yeah, I think 8 out of 10 would be apt for now. He can fulfill his potential and get a 9 or 9.5 out of 10 in the future.
Cool. I mean, I
Uh,
got a 7 from a
have
Real
we
Madrid fan for a Barca player, so I'll take it.
have we spoken about Furlan Mendy though?
oh
No, no. Ferland Mendy. Back to Real Madrid.
yeah.
Okay. I'll
So
let Abhay start.
yeah, yeah. So personally for me, he is the perfect replacement for Marcelo. So although he does not have the same attacking prowess as Marcelo, he's very pacey. He's basically Casemiro at left back position. He's fast. He can tackle. He falls back for defense, unlike Marcelo. So I think he is personally, in my opinion, a top five left back in the world right now. And the price tag was like for 45, I guess, like 45 to 40.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
Yeah, so like judging by his performance so far for Madrid on the left flank, paired with Vinicius or Hazard rally, he has performed very well, and I seriously think that he can fulfill the role that was honed by Carlos and Marcelo and Fabio Coentrao, of course. Yeah. So I think he's like 8.5 currently for me. Like I have bias, so I think he would be 8.5. Yeah, that's my take.
I can back Abhay. I can back Abhay, like not on the rating obviously, but I can back Abhay in the fact that he might be one of the best left backs in the world in the future. He's like the perfect comparison is like he's the left back Wan Bissaka.
Yeah.
He's defensive, doesn't like to go forward at this moment, but he's very pacey. He can transition. It's like with these young fullbacks like Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's attacking, he can learn to defend. Wan Bissaka, he's defending, he can learn to attack. Same with
Yeah,
Ferland
yeah.
Mendy. He's defending, he can learn to attack. In a system like Real Madrid, obviously, like they always have like
Just
these
a minute.
fast-paced counter-attacks.
Hmm.
Fast-paced counter-attacks, which is a very good way to play. Is like it's how Leicester won the Premier League, obviously. But Real Madrid have been doing it for a long time and like have been very effective with it. And with Marcelo being so old and Sergio Reguilon not living up to his hype, obviously,
Theo
after his
Hernandez
replacement
being
last
sold
season,
to Milan.
he's sold to Sevilla, right?
No, no.
He's at Sevilla.
Regulon is loaned to Sevilla, but I'm saying about Theo Hernandez. First, he was
Theo
loaned to
Hernandez,
Sociedad,
yes.
and then he was sold to AC Milan.
No,
Okay.
yes, Theo Hernandez, yes, true. Yeah, so Ferland Mendy, after his amazing season at Lyon last season, I can understand why Real Madrid have got this with Marcelo being on the cusp of like regression. I can understand Ferland Mendy's signing. He's going to be very good, I hope, for Real Madrid. I actually don't hope, but like I hope for the sake of Real Madrid that he's good and he justifies the price tag. And at this moment, he's probably a 7.58-ish for me.
Yeah, good enough.
Hmm. So to
Shubham?
me personally, this was a very surprise sort of signing considering Real Madrid already have quite a few fullbacks. They had Theo Hernandez. We also had Hakimi. So I did not expect them to sign Ferland Mendy. But also I haven't watched any of Real Madrid's games. So if Abhay is saying that he's a good, if both of you say he's a good player, so he must be. So maybe 7 would be an apt score.
Okay.
Fair enough.
For somebody who hasn't watched it, I can understand.
Ah.
Okay, Luka Jovic. I'd like to hear from Shubham first.
The video that Real Madrid had put out around after his signing, I thought he was like very Van Nistelrooy-esque, like the fox in the box sort of player.
Yes.
But the way Zidane plays, Benzema is sort of a false nine. So maybe in a 4-4-2 diamond formation, Benzema and Jovic would work well.
Compliment.
But as a lone striker, maybe not. So as of now, 6.5 out of 10. Abhay, what do you say?
Abhay, go on.
Sorry.
So during his days at Frankfurt, he was one of the top 5 strikers in the world at that time, paired with Haller, obviously, and they proved to be a very formidable attack. And when initially we bought him, he seemed like a very good signing, as Benzema was seemingly on his decline. So currently, like, he lacks playtime because I think Zidane still prefers Benzema over Jovic. But I think Jovic has a very pinpoint finishing. Like, he's compact and he's like short, but like he's very fast. So like I would compare him to Suarez, I guess. Like, not to his level, but comparison to Suarez.
I think Aguero.
Yeah, Aguero. Yeah,
I think
Aguero is more apt.
Aguero. Yeah. So I think he has a long way to go for Madrid. Hopefully, we don't sell him. So I think, but we will sell him. Haaland and Mbappe both are like. So I think.
Okay.
So I think paired with Vinicius at the left wing, and I don't know who would be at the right wing. Bale is being sold. Vasquez is not performing well. So I think Rodrigo. Yeah. So Rodrigo and Vinicius, they're very fast, and hopefully they can help Jovic reach his potential by spamming crosses like Arnold. But currently the rating would be 7 for me because he hasn't lived up to his height. So hopefully he does live up to his height. Yeah.
So the thing with Eintracht Frankfurt last season is that one of their strikers was like Jovic, out and out, straight inside the box finisher, and then the other one was Sebastian Haller, who was like a playmaking striker. Haller actually finished up with like double digits assists and goals.
Double digits goals, yeah.
So so like what I want to say is Real Madrid need a playmaking striker, which is Benzema, obviously. Benzema has a good pass on him, but Jovic doesn't. Jovic is just like a finisher. It's like there was a 5-goal game he had last season for Eintracht, in which but he finished with his right foot, left foot,
and
head.
Yeah, perfect hat-trick.
Right foot, left foot, head. Another with the left, and then a bicycle like scissor kick.
Yeah.
Scissor kick.
Yeah.
And like all of them were inside the box. None of them were outside the box. Like a major chunk of his goals at Benfica and at Frankfurt were inside the box. I don't think that kind of player fits Real Madrid, honestly. So I would say that it was a panic buy. Real Madrid could have waited for like somebody like, I know all the strikers in the world want to be a Galactico, so they could have waited for like Mbappe to be available, and they could have rolled with Benzema for the time being.
Barcelona were going to buy Jovic too, so I think to fend off interest from them, this could have.
But on the other hand, Barcelona had more of an inkling toward Lautaro Martinez, and they would have likely gone for Martinez over Jovic because Argentina and all that.
Yeah.
So Jovic was obviously on the board,
but I think he is blamed too much, so he won't like to be linked with Messi anymore. So
so I would personally rate Jovic's signing 6 out of 10 purely because Real Madrid didn't need him, but he has a high ceiling. He could achieve a lot, not in a system like Real Madrid. So that's just my opinion.
I think I personally thought Real Madrid would have gone for Icardi instead of Jovic or anybody else.
Much better suited to the system.
Yeah, but Ramos has a very good looking wife, so I think Icardi won't be a option. Yeah.
Oh my God. Let's move on quickly to the next signing. Eder Militao. Is this Real Madrid after Real Madrid? Oh my God.
Well, let's see. Militao has.
Actually, I did not. Sorry, Abhay, start.
नहीं, बोल ना.
So personally, I had not placed him in this list. Aryan was the one who wanted to maybe criticize Militao.
I mean,
That's why.
technically, he was part of the top 15, which Shubham wanted to do. So I'm just pointing out the facts. He was the top 15 most paid transfer. So any of your Real Madrid boys want to start, then you can start.
Yeah, I'm fine. So, Militao seemed like a very nonsense buy for us at start, but his place at Porto, he seemed very well, and he was paired with Pepe, our ex Madridista. So I think he would have gained some experience from Pepe too, not the attacking ones where he stamped on Muller, but yeah. So he's a CBRB, so he can play both roles, and he is a pretty good centre back. So he has a good heading skill and he can clear well, but like his tackling is not as well as Varane's. But I'm sure that when Ramos seems to retire or if he's sold, so Militao can prove to be his successor, hopefully. So I would rate this signing at like a 7 out of 10, purely because of the fact that the price tag in this market was not that high. So he was bought for like 35-40 million. So I think
45.
that seemed like not such a bad steal for Madrid, and considering that Perez has a knack for big money signings, and we didn't sign Delit. So I think Militao seems like not that bad of a signing for us.
Agreed. So, I mean, I don't agree with the centre back, right back point that you made because, mate, at right back you have Carvajal, Odriozola, and
No.
Hakimi.
No. So
And
currently we have loaned Odriozola and
I know Odriozola is at Bayern and Hakimi is at Dortmund.
Yeah.
But you do have 3 right backs on your roster. I don't think you need any more right back depth.
Odriozola,
I mean, I can
was
understand.
horrible in our only loss of the season in the first half versus Mallorca, I guess, where we lost 1-0 due to a very shitty mistake by Odriozola, and since then Zidane hasn't played him for like 10 games. So I think he was not
I believe that Odriozola is still good enough to be your third choice right back. Like behind Carvajal and Hakimi, he is good enough to be your third choice right back. Okay, straying away from the right back.
backs though?
Yeah?
Which top team would have 3 right backs? You have
Exactly.
one main right back and a backup. Yeah.
Exactly. So you
It's
already have like 3
Carvajal
good
is,
right backs.
like 29, I guess now. So I think he would be sold or retiring in like 2-3 years. But if Hakimi will play very well, so I think that process would be fastened up. So I think that Militao seemed like a deal in the foresight for Perez. Like he would play as a successor for Ramos, hopefully. And if someone at the right back gets injured, so he could play as a backup right back. And considering that Nacho.
Okay, let's just forget about the right back position. Let's talk about Eder Militao.
Yeah.
Eder Militao, I believe like he's going to be like the next Jesus Vallejo at Madrid. So I don't have very high hopes for Eder Militao right now. Considering like I already believe like Eder Militao is very close to reaching his peak. I don't see how much better he can get in a system like Real Madrid's. And I understand like the 45 million price tag is quite good in this like day and age for a young up and coming center back who's pacey, physical, strong in the box. I can understand why they paid that for Eder Militao, but yeah, I can't really get behind this signing. So I'll have to give it like a 6 out of 10.
अगर 4 साल में ये गोट हुआ ना, so I'll just send it to Bad Football Opinions. देखना.
Sure.
So personally, I thought Real Madrid, if they were going to go after a centre back, it had to be Dillet. Because he's so young, so good, and he would have been the perfect sort of replacement for Ramos. Considering both of them are also very good at corners, like set pieces, heading. So, yeah. Who's the next player?
Antoine Griezmann.
Griezmann.
Okay, Abhay, no need for that. I mean, the man did a fortnight dance after scoring in the World Cup final. I can't blame him. He still is one of the best players in La Liga, is my opinion. But he's being played out of position, is what we all can agree upon. He's being played horribly out of position. He is not a winger, Valverde. I don't know why I'm talking to him anymore, but let's just move on. Like, with the upsurge of Ansu Fati and Carles Perez, who they have for some reason loaned out to Roma for some reason.
He sold. They have an
sold.
To buy.
They have an obligation to buy. Damn. Okay. I don't get, like, La Masia is slowly dying. I don't understand what is happening.
Abel Ruiz too. They loaned him out to Braga, I guess. So I think
Braga.
Yeah. Abel Ruiz.
Okay, Abel Ruiz. I don't know why you said Braga and I remembered like Trincao, but Trincao is coming next season. With next season Trincao being on the wing, hopefully Griezmann should play up top and we should like make Suarez either the backup or move him on because he is obviously 32. It's way past his prime. Even like getting Antoine Griezmann as a replacement, he's 29. He only has 2 or 3 more seasons to give. It was not worth going through the entire saga with Atletico Madrid and the La Liga about his release clause and all that. It was not worth that because we were anticipating Griezmann as a Barca fan. I was anticipating Griezmann for such a long time. When it finally happened, I was like, okay, sure, Griezmann is here. What now? Nothing's going to happen because Messi and Suarez are best mates. They're obviously going to start. It's time for Barca to realize that Suarez is past his prime because the output from Suarez has been decent this season. Nothing like Griezmann would have given if he had started in that striker position. And when you stop getting the output that you have been getting for so long at Atletico Madrid in the same league, obviously your confidence is bound to go down, which is what happened with Griezmann, and his output started to dwindle completely. He could not finish a shot to save his life. He was played completely in the clear by Jordi Alba, by Messi. He couldn't finish his chances easy. He would put it wide of the post. He would aim it straight at the keeper. It was really frustrating to watch. But I still have hope for this man. If he gets a haircut and trims his beard, he can finally focus on the football and become... Hey, I'm in quarantine, okay? I'm in quarantine. This man's been experimenting with his hairstyle for 5 years. Don't come at me.
Even I've been experimenting with my hairstyle.
Yeah, so I would personally rate him 7 at this moment. 7.
So personally, I think the only way Barcelona could fit Griezmann, Suarez and Messi in a team would be with a 4-4-2 diamond with Messi at the top of the diamond as a number 10. Yeah. And, Griezmann and Suarez up front. And like Aryan pointed out, that Griezmann, instead of being a winger, he should be a Suarez replacement. Because I personally don't remember when Suarez last scored an away goal in the Champions League. It's been 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Damn, you didn't have to go that hard, bro.
Yeah, so Griezmann, I think 7.5 would be right.
Yeah, so for me, I think Griezmann seemed like during his days at Atletico, he was one of the top 5 players in the world, and I'd go far to say that, with Neymar, Hazard, Messi, Ronaldo, Griezmann surely made his name amongst those stars. And when he won the World Cup, he peaked in his career, basically trophy-wise, because Atletico don't win that much trophy.
Yeah.
So I think this deal to Barca was not that bad. but he obviously was played out of his role with Valverde, who was not that great as a coach for Barcelona in his latter years. So I think this
I
deal
agree.
for his price tag would be around 6.5 to 7 for me currently. But obviously, if he lives up to his World Cup days, he can be a lot better.
Hmm.
No, ever
Okay.
since Griezmann said that he's at the same level as Messi and Ronaldo, he's not been that good.
Let's move on. We
Let's
have
let's compare him to Vinicius.
no, not that low, Abhay. Please
Hey,
put some respect on the man's name. Man's a World Cup
PK,
winner.
PK, what? PK, PK.
Uh, let's move on.
Well, you know,
The
Aryan,
costliest.
Olivier Giroud is a World Cup winner too. So,
Adil
I
Rami
mean,
too. Adil Rami.
Olivier Giroud didn't score a goal, but he was very important. So
yeah.
He
we can't take
never
that away
shot
from
on
him.
target. He was the main striker.
He was the hold-up striker. He was not the finishing striker. The finishing was
Yeah,
done
yeah.
by Mbappe, Pogba, and Griezmann. Is all I know.
Yeah, but like zero shots on target. Never mind. Never mind.
You know, let's not deviate
Let's
from the
leave
topic.
Giroud.
Yeah.
Why?
Hmm. Who's
The
that?
most polarizing transfer this window.
Felix.
João Felix,
Yeah.
Oh, well,
126 million.
this has panic buy written all over it. So yeah.
100%. I would agree.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, in this
Who wants to
market,
start?
120 million is pretty high for a 19-year-old star playing in Liga NOS. And while he was
Yeah.
playing for Benfica, his CF role was pretty well, and he was paired with wait, who was the main striker who just retired?
Jonas.
Yeah, Jonas. Yeah, and he was a pretty seasoned striker for Benfica. So I think he could have learned a lot from him. And in Madrid, he didn't implement what he learned from Jonas currently. But I think Simeone obviously made buy a very panic buy, but like he had him as a plan for like 5 years into the future. So I
Hmm.
think he obviously can fulfill his potential, and when he plays for the in the Euros with Bernardo Silva, Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, and with them he'll obviously learn a lot, and hopefully he'll play as well in the Madrid setup. So currently, for his price tag and his performances, I would rate him around a 6.5 or 7. I don't see me rating him over 7.5 as the max.
Okay. I just have one argument to make. The guy has scored 6 goals and has 3 assists across all competitions this season. Is that worthy of 126 million from any
No, that's
striker?
worthy of 26 million. I'm sorry.
Yes, that's worthy of 26 million. That's worthy of not even 26 million, considering that Erling Haaland got sold for 20 million. I don't know how Erling Haaland got sold for 20
Yeah,
million.
but I think
And
like
João
Release
Felix,
clause, no?
Atletico paid like a 75 million premium for him being young, and he's currently 19, 20. So he obviously has like at least 8 years to play at his peak. So I think this seemed a deal for the long run, but not now. So I think we are being pretty harsh on him, but yeah, his performances have been below par.
some harshness is justified, considering that Atletico was faring so poorly in La Liga, even
Yeah.
with like his arrival supposed to take them like just past Real Madrid and Barcelona. Like they were supposed to go back to like 2013 when they actually won it. So I don't understand the price tag. I understand the hype. I understand why Simeone would want a guy like that with Griezmann gone, but that was not a good like investment of the Griezmann money, and I would rate it like a 5 out of 10.
So personally, the price is justified. The hype is justified because it was a release clause and Benfica wasn't it, right?
Yes.
He was at Benfica, yeah. So Benfica probably right in demanding the release clause. Personally, Atletico and Felix, who's a very bright striker, it's not a great match. You know, Simeone plays very defensive again. So always, as an attacker, you don't want to play under managers like Jose Mourinho or Simeone. It gets very boring. You don't get as many chances. So personally, not a good match for me. 6 out of 10 would be apt for now. Maybe he can go up to 8 or 9.
According to what we all have been speaking, the perfect striker for Diego Simeone would be Roberto Firmino, Liverpool fan.
Yeah. Defensive striker.
Defensive striker.
Defensive
Yeah.
striker, yes. Okay, next on the agenda is Romelu Lukaku, first touch on Mars.
It seems like everybody like who has transferred out of United have been playing at their peak. Lukaku, Sanchez, Young, Smalling.
Not Sanchez, please.
He was
Sanchez actually has been
injured. Yeah.
quite good for Inter. He has been quite good for
And he's
Inter,
being benched
especially in
a
the
lot by
Europa.
Conte. So yeah.
But Serie A is a much easier league as compared to the Premier League. You know, Premier League is more fast and it's more demanding as well. To play 90 minutes in Premier League mentally and physically is much more challenging than the Serie A.
Agreed.
And Lukaku, yeah, for someone like Conte, we know Conte wanted Lukaku even when he was at Chelsea. United swooped in for him at the last moment. So I think it's a good signing, and I would go as far as saying 9 out of 10.
I do agree partially with Shubham. Like, Inter literally did the Premier League reunion. Like, Conte was like, I have left the Premier League. I will not let Premier League leave me. Lukaku actually has been really good for Inter. Like, turned their season around very well. They're in a Champions League position right now. I can see them performing very well in the Champions League next season if they manage to keep like Barella, Lukaku, Martinez, Politano,
Eriksen.
who's Eriksen, obviously. Eriksen has just come, so
He's
he'll
just
be there.
signed, sorry, yeah.
De Vrij. They should probably let go of some of their centre
Even
backs.
Skriniar is at Inter, right?
Yeah, Skriniar.
Gordon too,
They should
but he keeps
probably-
keeping-
You should probably get a good third centre back since they have been playing three at the back. Like their third centre back is like some youth academy graduate called Alessandro Bastoni. So
Yeah,
I think
he's
they
pretty well.
he's good. He's tall, he's fast, but he's not like the option for them in the Champions League next season. Like you would want a better starter in the Champions League next season. Coming back to Lukaku though, Lukaku, like he's been a very good leader per se. I remember that moment with like Esposito that he had. He gave up the penalty and let him take it. And like, to be honest, he's been popping up at like the perfect moments. He scored like a brace against Milan in the derby. He's been very good for Inter, like in the heat of the moment. And I would give him, I would agree with Shubham, but not to that extent. I would like give him an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, so like
The last one on the list.
never mind.
अरे क्या हुआ बोल बोल
मैंने बोला ही नहीं छोड़ कुछ ना like
Okay.
I need to say about him, so बोल continue.
I was just moving on to the last one on the list, which is
Yeah.
Matthias de Ligt. Matthias de Ligt. Polarized opinions.
I think Abhay, you should start right now
Yeah, so
because
De Ligt versus Madrid. Shubham, I know तो क्या बोलने वाला था, but never mind. Yeah, so when he played versus us and Juve too, he was pretty well when they beat both of us. And he's a very great header of the ball, and he's fast. He's good at tackling, and he also has a very matured way of playing, considering that he was the first captain of Ajax at like the age of 19.
19.
But I think he's a pretty well-rounded centre back, and Juve did the right thing by buying him. But like in this season, the 75 odd price tag hasn't paid off. But like we have seen glimpses of him defending pretty well, and he also is he can learn from Chiellini, Bonucci, and he's also paired with a young centre back Demiral. So I think in the long run he would seem like a pretty sensible buy. But currently, based on his 2019 and 2020 performances, I would rate him like 7 for UA.
Aryan?
To be honest, like it's a very good signing from Juventus. Like anybody who managed to land Matthias de Ligt in this transfer window was guaranteed. It was guaranteed to be a good signing because this man has a lot of potential, and he has like already like shown not just glimpses. He has like gone through an entire UCL campaign and proved that he can be a centre back, like a UCL finalist centre back, nearly.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about the bottle job. But Matthias de Ligt, I would say that Juventus have like a very deep centre back rotation right now with Chiellini, Bonucci, De Ligt, Demiral, Rugani. They have a lot of like defensive power to rely upon, and Matthias de Ligt has like he has the perfect opportunity to learn like from their experienced centre backs like Chiellini and Bonucci on how to survive in like a league like Serie A.
The league like Serie A.
Yeah. Like I think it was Chiellini who said like a few years ago, like in the Premier League they demand everything like defense, attack, but in Syria all they want to see is goals, goals, goals. Which is why it is very hard for a defender. Like Chiellini made this statement like a few years ago. So which is why Juventus like pride themselves on having one of the best defenses in the league. And I understand Matthias de Ligt signing, and he's going to be one of the best centre backs in the future. I would not bet. I'm not a betting man, so I would like if I had something to bet on, I would bet on it that Matthias de Ligt is going to be like the next, like he could reach Puyol levels, is what I'm going to say.
So,
He could reach Puyol levels.
For a manager like Sarri, who loves to play more passing game with a similar philosophy at Ajax, I think De Ligt was the perfect centre back. He could potentially be the replacement for. He is the replacement for Chiellini, who's getting like, is he 34, 35 already?
He's
35.
Oh, yeah, 5.
35. So it's a very good signing. He's also a very good leader. Like if you've seen the speech video after Ajax's Eredivisie campaign, So I think it's been a very good signing. He's not been that good this season. 7.5 out of 10 right now. Could go up to 9. Yeah.
Agree. Completely agree. Yeah. So that was the last one, I think. So, Shubham, I'll let you do the outro.
Any other player we'd want to talk about?
And honorable mention would be Kieran Trippier, who was transferred from Spurs.
But I think he only cost like 20-25 million.
And that's a steal for him, the way he has been playing right now. He has been playing like his campaign at the World Cup 2018, where he was hyped like Roberto Carlos when he scored that free kick. And he has been pretty well at the role, but he has faced competition from, I think, didn't they sell their, who was the right back? I forgot his name.
It was Juan Fran, but he he went away, and then now they have Santiago Arias and him.
Yeah, Arias too. Yeah, and like they have a very good defense, and Trippier with his attacking prowess and his free kick capabilities, he is a pretty good signing for Simeone, and the worth of his price tag is like 20 million. So I think in this market, that stock is not that high for a player like him.
I would go as far as to say he's not going to be loyal to Atletico, because you know what? He wants to play for Burnley. He wants to play for Sean Dyche, bro. He wants to come back to the Premier League to Turf Moor, bro. Didn't you read that interview?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Sorry.
So man like Kieran Trippier said, if we wanted to play for one Premier League club, it would be Burnley. Burnley.
Why would you say that?
Because he's Kieran Trippier. He's the most English person there is.
I think he wants to go to a third non-title winning team from Atletico
Exactly.
to Spurs.
He doesn't want
Spurs to Atletico. and now to Burnley, and they have no hopes of staying in the top 6. So I think.
Honorable mention to Joe Linton as well.
Oh yeah.
40 million. Amazing.
Even Haller cost around 35-40 million, right?
Yeah.
Yes. 35.
Yeah. I think they have not lived up to the hefty price tag. Like,
Haaland,
yeah,
Felipe Anderson, Yarmolenko,
Yeah.
none of them have done justice to West Ham. I mean, it is West Ham after all, so we can't expect much.
Yeah.
Wasn't Yarmolenko sold to China? I think.
Yeah, he was sold.
Yeah.
Yay season.
Okay.
So I think the price tag got to the head, and I think they had built up some ego, and they were very nervy at some moments, because I saw Joe Linton and Pepe score not that much, and they also missed big sitters. So I think the price tag at which they were sold, that seemed pretty high for them too, and they would have gotten nervous at that moment. So I think that's why they haven't played that well.
Joe Linton is a 0 out of 10. Chal Shubham.
Yeah.
Chalo. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Aryan and Abhay, for coming on my channel. Thank you so much, and hopefully
Anytime.
we'll do more videos together in the future. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching my channel. Like this video. You two guys have to share it with your friends on your story. And everybody else, comment down below. Share, subscribe, and click on the notification bell to stay tuned, to get notified whenever a new video gets uploaded. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.